Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto was the Greatest Puppeteer. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this with all of your friends on your social media platform. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto and Sasuke were taken by Itachi. And also over on Anime King 2, I posted a new episode of What If Naruto was transported to the Justice League world, so go ahead and check out that as well guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be planning talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the new episode. Start the intro. So the last time we left off, they were able to track Orochimaru down using the seal as a locator as they made their way towards his base. As Naruto saw, Hidan was there strapped to a table of various organs. It seems like Orochimaru has been removing the man's organs over and over, as Jiraiya had taken up the mantle of being Hokage at the moment, seeing that Tsunade left the village as soon as the old man died, and Shizune decided to stay back and they had a large war between two of them. Yes, it was a large argument, but Shizune decided to stay in the village as she didn't want to go anymore, as Tsunade decided to leave her behind and just go. So they finally managed to catch up to Orochimaru as Naruto went crazy when he saw who was strapped to the table as it was Hanabi, as Orochimaru removed one of her eyes, as Naruto dashed towards the man but he was sent sailing through a wall by Kakazu, as Kakazu has acquired different hearts by Orochimaru, Scorch Release and Storm Release. But Naruto quickly put him in his place as Naruto puppets started to tear through his monsters like they were nothing, destroying his hearts one by one, as Kakazu soon come to realize that he was no match for Naruto, as Naruto was able to bring him down without much difficulty, and kill him as well. So with that, Kakazu finally fall, as Naruto made his way around. Orochimaru had Anko at a stalemate, as Jiraiya would not try anything because Orochimaru would snap her neck, as he used that to get away, as Naruto quickly take Hanabi. It took a couple of months as Hanabi got used to her prosthetic, the prosthetic vehicle that Naruto has been working on, from the notes in the Hyugas, as she was able to use it quite well, as she was happy that she was able to see again, as she sort of linked on to Naruto from this on. The argument that both of them had has long forgotten, as she became quite closer to him and happy that he came to rescue her and happy that she was alive because she was so terrified when she was captured. As that time went on, and Anko wanted to find a way for Naruto to use a seal to track Orochimaru once again, so they managed to find another seal as this one was in the Fire Capital. So they made their way there, Hanabi coming along as well, as Teiwaya, a girl named Teiwaya was there, along with the guard forces. Yes, they were there. They were the daimyo's main guards. As Naruto made his way inside, the girl called out to him, as he teach her when he was here, as she claimed to be his student, as Hanabi didn't like that very much. The group then split up as Naruto went to get information from her, but he didn't really gain much as she said that there's been no new faces here recently. So he wanted to know who the mark belongs to here, because one of them here has a curse mark on them, and need to find them, as Hanabi and Anko went off to investigate themselves as well. So yeah guys, so it's basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? How was your chat with the princess? Teiwaya asked, as Naruto stepped out of the chamber, as he wasn't surprised that she was there, leaning against a pillar. Animated, he said, as he smiled to himself, seeing that two of them were playing with puppets in there. If this is about the rules, I can assure you I was invited in. Now, we know all about your little playdates with the princess. Mukaku just thought that you might want to help with whatever investigation you're running, as he shrugged. To be honest, I don't really get this whole hostility shit between us and other ninjas. You guys are just doing your job, same as us. I'm afraid some of your predecessors didn't hold the same argument, so some bad values are set. But I'm all for letting bygones be bygones if you're offering your help. She rolled her eyes as she pulled out a stick of pocky and started to eat. Damn, you talk just like Mikaku. As if I didn't have to deal with that enough. A bit more blunt then, said Naruto. Well, that would be better, she said, as she placed a pack of sweets away. So what do you need for your Orochimaru theme hunt? As Naruto's finger paused. My apologies, but I don't remember telling the guardians why exactly I was here. She placed her hands at the back of her head. Not hard to work out from the context. You think us are idiots, shithead, she asked. Maybe I'm starting to get where the girls come from. Besides, you're buddy. And little girl, aren't as secretive as you are. Naruto said nothing to that as the finger kept on tapping against his waist. Appreciate the offer, but we don't need help or business. Should be wrapping up very soon. No skin off my back, I want to leave you guys alone. It was Mikaku, who insists on being friendly. And keep an eye on us, right, said Naruto. She slipped out another piece of pocky and slipped in her mouth in a smooth motion. We're the guards for the daimyo. A bit of paranoia is in the job description. How about for company's sake then? Well, you're certainly better than my other two options, I have to admit. She didn't seem impressed by the flattery, so he shifted gears. What's your story then? It is always the most interesting circumstances that bring people towards the Guardian's wealth. She certainly wasn't a Konoha ninja and there was no way she was Fire Temple. There was a chance that she was one of those special cases singled out in the samurais. But her hands, the class on it, it was in a different way than a sword user would have them. Not much to say, she said, her hands resting on the back of her head. Orphans, didn't know my parents. Caught the eye of a guardian. It was Kazuma. He trained me on the side. When he got himself killed, I couldn't think of anywhere else to go. So what was so special that you caught the guardian's eye in her to ask? No offense, he said. Much taken, she said, but I admit, I wasn't much. I was a skinny little brat living off the streets. But I had this wooden flute that I had for as long as I remember. Used to play for whatever scraps I could get, and I draw a bigger crowd than I should have gotten. Turns out I was unconsciously using chakra to enhance the sound. Kazuma passed by one day and realized what I was doing, and the rest is history. I guess this is why I don't see any weapon on you then. Genjutsu user. Obvious, she said, as she reached into her cleavage and drew out a metal flute. Not the most accessible storage, he said. She chuckled and spun the flute between her fingers. I haven't been interrupted yet, she said. Can't imagine why, he said. So, care to your tune, she asked. I've been told they're nothing quite like my melodies. Can't exactly say I'm one for music, but sure, why not, he said, as she started to play. As the first note was loud, as it brought every attention to her. As it progressed, Naruto's head nodded forward, his eyes swaying in place. By the time she held a long note, he was asleep on his feet. She rolled her eyes and drew a kimono in her sleeve as she twirled between her fingers. And with a single slash, he severed. What the hell? Dami grabbed her fist and smashed his feet in her stomach, sending her sailing back. She landed in a roll as she sprang back to her feet. For the record, Naruto's voice echoed around. From what I heard, that was quite beautiful, as his voice sounded like it was coming from Dami. He had listened long enough to find out what the effect of the genjutsu was. That's impossible, she said. Even if you block your ears, my genjutsu work directly on the inner ear bones. Yeah, I realized that myself as Dami was replaced by Inari, as her tails flashed around. Had to block off the tenketsu with my ears manually. Good thing I'm so good at reading lips, huh? I still eyed the puppet, but she knew that she couldn't get distracted by it. It was the puppeteer she wanted. I never was good at this infiltration shit, but what gave me away, she asked, as she needed to keep him talking to find him. Well, your story was very good, as Inari stepped forward slowly, forcing her to step back. Probably mostly true, but I guess that you never met this Kazuma guy, have you? And also, if you're going to be using makeup to conceal your dress mark, make sure you also add it to your face as well. It was the same stuff that he used to cover his whiskers on infiltration missions, and he was wondering why it was bugging him all this time. Why did he smell it? Huh. And here I was giving crap to those Shikuno witches who care so much about their looks. As she dashed forward suddenly, hoping to catch him off guard mid-balance. As, when it came to taijutsu, she did not have it at all. She thought that Inari was a normal puppet. Well, she didn't really focus on the tails, which was her downfall, as she was slammed back brutally. As she got to her feet quickly as she started to look for the puppeteer. Once she killed him, the puppet would stop. He had to be close to be able to read her lips. Under normal circumstances, she would have been right, but if she noticed Inari's wide eyes, she could have told that they weren't just exactly normal puppet eyes. As Naruto learned the hard way, the first time he installed his prostate Mihawk into puppet, that a dojutsu wasn't just in the eyes. Hanabi transplant had been an astonishing success because her brain was already wired towards it, and used to deal that second sight. The first time he tried to activate it through the sheer vision technique he used to see through his puppet's eyes, he nearly blacked out. The sensory overload was way too much for him. There was a reason Hyuga range developed over time, but Naruto went and dropped an extended old Hyuga range into a child's mind. His brain needed a lot of time to process everything was suddenly seen. From there, he was able to restrict some of the vision and work up. It was still in the early stages, so his range through Iniri was about 100 meters away. But that was already much of an incredible advantage, but he could still go up more. But you'd have to tweak it a bit. Currently, he was one floor up, watching the entire thing. As she fired out a rain of kunai, they must be coming from some storage seal, seeing that she wasn't wearing any other gear on her body. As Iniri's eyes twitched, as the vision of the Byakugan turned, seen right through her clothes. Well, there was the application of the Byakugan that he never really focused on. Sure enough, he could see the seal that had the kunais inside, as it never seemed to amaze him what the Byakugan was capable of, as he could literally see the twitch of her muscles, every single movement that she was going to make. As Iniri shot forward, Teiwai had to jump back as Iniri's claws ripped right through the kunai. As she quickly sent Chakra to her feet as Naruto saw it, as she used to force herself back with a run. As Naruto needed to stop, marveling on everything, and focus, as she was now running down the alleyway. As Naruto cursed softly as he moved along with Iniri to pursue. She had likely figured out that he would have to move to keep up as well. If he was a full-blooded Hyuga, she would have been wrong because he could have led this fight from halfway across the city. But his sight was limited, so if she went too far, she could escape. Not that she knew that, she was just probably trying to ambush him once he revealed his location. And also Iniri was fast on her, as Iniri rushed over the wall and landed right in front of her, so she wouldn't take this fight in the public. As he knew what this was going to be if anyone else caught on once they were fighting. It would be said that he was attacking a member of the Daimyo personal guard. As she tried to hit Iniri with a barrage of kunai, this time they were crackling with lightning chakra. But Naruto used Iniri's tail with lightning inside of it to bat them away like nothing. Teiwai then slammed her hand on the floor. He didn't need to read her lips know that she was summoning something, but what, he did not know. As she quickly brought her flute back up to her lips, Naruto was surprised because he saw samurai armor leap forward towards him, but there was no chakra inside of it. But he saw Teiwai's chakra flowing onto the flute and spreading all around. As the samurai drew out his katana and set himself in a perfect kenjutsu stance. It wasn't alone as two other sets of armor hopped out. "How do you like my doki?" Teiwai called out, still uncertain of where he was exactly hiding. "They can possess anything I command to become my perfect, unkillable soldier," she said. As Naruto realized he was fighting ghosts possessed armor. Well, if these doki had nothing to possess, then they should be unuseful, right? As Iniri crouched low as the three of them encircled her. But they were fast, as Iniri didn't have time to finish the wind juice that she was preparing. But numbers did not overwhelm Iniri, as three swords met three tails, wind style Ichigai, as a compact layer of wind burst from Iniri's body. He saw how dangerous that was when fighting Yakuzu, and he did not disappoint here, as the three of them were thrown back violently like a slap from coming. One was caved in from the wall. The other two were sent flying down the hallway in either direction. Something was ejected from the suit of armor though, something that not even the Byakugan could see. Or perhaps he couldn't see it because of the Byakugan. Probably he couldn't see the dokis because they were intangible. They certainly didn't have any chakra. All he could make out at the moment was a slight shimmer in the air. As he was so focused, he almost missed the suit of armor sneaked up on him as he sank through the floor of the room, as the blade connected where he just was, cracking the earth. Teiwai smirked as he landed next to Iniri, still keeping her flute up, in case he tried anything. It's amazing what you can do with sound, isn't it? Naruto read her lips. There was some sort of sonar to flush him out then, as he unlinked his sight from Iniri. As Naruto saw it, there was a blue haze with motes all over it. "Well," he says, he cracked his neck. "I think we can call that a warm-up," he said. Then he exploded because, of course, that wasn't him. The blast was maximized because of the space, as it was funneled straight down the corridor towards her. When the smoke cleared, as Iniri had wrapped herself up with her tails like a cocoon, as Teiwai had tanked the blast. Impressive, considering that it obliterated the walls completely. And it quickly became obvious how, when experimenting with the enzyme that he extracted from Uncle Seal, he wondered how it would change a human, as she had horns on top of her head as she went into stage 2 of the curse mark on her neck, as she blew a sharp note of her flute. As he heard it, he had to make sure the marks around his ears were still blocked, and that was rather impressive for him to hear that. It was more than just music though, as one of her armored dokis launched itself towards him. It was a lot faster now, but Iniri was still quicker. She moved so fast it almost seemed like she body flickered between them, tail up in anticipation. The steel of armor tried to slice through her tails, but her tail was just too stronger, as she smashed it in the ground, crushing it. As Naruto saw the ghost thing coming towards him, as he angled a jet of water up towards it, but it passed right through it. He already knew it wouldn't work, but it's just a try. As he vacated his hiding spot, not wanting to find out what had happened if one of those mouths got a hold of him. Naruto did not use the Byakugan as he couldn't see the ghosts when he did. And also, Teiwai's skin became strong, really strong, as sand bonds bounced right off of her. Naruto nearly tripped over himself when he saw that, because those sand bonds embed themselves into stone. And for the bounce off her skin, that was impressive. Teiwai grinned as she met Inira head on. She wasn't just tougher, she was faster, and more reflexes. This time she was able to match Inira in taijutsu, even overpowering her a bit. And Naruto was being cornered as the three Dokis went after him. While he was fit as a Jonin, he was not really a physical ninja. What he was someone who played to your strengths, namely unpredictability. So Teiwai became shocked when he suddenly switched with Inari. She was aimed a kick for someone much taller than he was. So she was surprised when his hand turned, and a stream of hot flames was sent directly into her face as he held it for 3 seconds before turning off the fuel, and he jumped back same time. As Naruto saw why she didn't attack him straight away, aside from a small char on her neckline, on her kimono, she was perfectly unharmed. She had a smirk on her face. She knew that this was going to happen. It's a shame though that he wasn't aiming for her face as she launched herself towards him, only to pause in confusion. Behind her Doki were floating in place, completely unaffected by her music. He wasn't going after her to roast her, as he was completely capable of seeing the enhancements, and he knew of Jiraiya enhancement when using Sage mode. So he simply aimed for her flute. It didn't destroy it because it was made of some sort of special metal, but it was hot to kill any air inside of it, so the sound must have come out strangely. In that same moment, Inira switched place on Naruto again, a Rasengan in her palm, as Teiwaya was grind into by the Rasengan that ripped into her stomach as he tried to break this layer. Curse seal or not, this would break anything. Inira then sink her fangs into Teiwaya's neck as she started to pump sedatives into her. Her horns retreated and her skin returned back normal as she collapsed unconscious. Just in time for the two guards to come around the corner. Naruto looked at the unconscious girl at his feet and the destruction. I can explain, he said. Neither of the guardians looked like they wanted an explanation, while Mikaku was still examining the scene. He was one to examine it first before he do anything. Henry already drew his blade, and he was stepping forward towards Naruto. I knew that you were going to pull something like this, he growled. He wasn't the type to twirl his blade for any joking sign or anything. He was just wanting to get close enough to strike. You have that look in your eye, that scheming look. Naruto scoffed, as he did not say anything. Before the man could get too close to him though, something smashed right into him. But he did not send sailing away or anything, as Uncle flipped and landed. Damn it. It felt like I kicked a boulder, she said. I kinda wish you haven't done that, said Naruto. If anything, it made the man serious and less. I felt I got a pretty good look for the situation, and acted on my own judgment, she said. I mean, she's the one you're looking for, right? Friends that don't know and that are pissed off at us. At that moment, Hanabi rushed into view, panting, as she rushed from the other side of the palace, over here. Sorry, Sensei. I tried to stop her. She was forced to catch her breath. Couldn't wish she might have been, but this place was a large building, as she had to jump to dodge Henry's blade. But even if she had moved in time, the man was still fast enough to cut her down. But the moment Naruto saw that the man had twitched, Inari had pulled Hanabi away, as Inari striked out. If Hanabi wasn't wrapped up in the tail, she would have saw that it was a Byakugan strike. As he was sent sailing back down the corridor, he skidded to a stop at Mikaku's feet, causing the monk to nerd his eyes. That's fine, said Naruto, as he looked towards Hanabi. I think that ship has sailed anyway. Show off, said Uncle. I have seen that technique before, said Mikaku, as he gazed at the three of them. I know how devastating can be to the unprepared, as he looked towards Henry, who was picking himself up. If you wanted to, you could have easily crushed my friend's chest. I don't suppose that's enough evidence that I don't want to fight. He didn't really know about Fire Temple monks, and he was unsure how the Guardian would react towards this. I can explain everything if I give him the chance. I'm afraid that is no longer up to me, he said, as he went into a taijutsu stance. As they were then surrounded by armored samurais from everywhere. Now, are you going to come peacefully? As Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose, as he looked up at the ceiling, as all of them tense. Eventually he flicked his hand as Inari stand down. He, along with a reluctant Anko and Hanabi, put their hands behind their back. They also placed a pair of handcuffs on Inari, as they were not sure what to do with the puppet. So Anko whispered, who was it that wasn't supposed to antagonize the Guardians? Timeskip, the Fire Daimyo, looking older than his age, with saggy cheeks and watery eyes. He didn't really look like a fearsome leader, but then again they were Hokages, not diplomats. as Naruto knew that the man was, well, a limp. So he was somewhat surprised by the cool aura of respect that the man had about him now. He was sitting down and he had a rather commanding tone to him. Something changed. He was surrounded by his advisors and his guardians, and also the Konoha ninjas in front of him. Someone had managed to wake up Teiwaya by the time it took to summon the daimyo, and that was rather surprising. Either way, she was glaring at Naruto, propped up by one side by Henryu. She was really going to play the victim. We don't even need an explanation for this, the daimyo said. After what had been seen, the daimyo said after one of his guards told him what happened. You ninjas have abused our whole soul, spat on our hospitality, and abused one of our own without cause. Respectfully, Naruto said, cutting in. Your own attacked me first. And now you lie to protect yourself, like the criminal that you are. It's no lie, said Naruto. She's an agent of Orochimaru. Of who? The daimyo said, as an attendant leaned forward and whispered in his ear. Another of Konoha mistakes loose upon our country. We find such accusation to be irrelevant. She has been a part of us for over a year now, and her services has been nothing but exemplary. How stupid this man was, exactly. How someone infiltrated should be. Then she shouldn't mind having makeup on her neck removed to reveal the curse mark there, said Naruto. A what? Another whisper from the other attendant. You assault my guardian for a tattoo? As Teiwaya smirked at Naruto before she lowered her head. It's not a... Naruto's statement was cut as the door swung open, as the little girl came marching in. Father, what is the meaning of this? As she took in the bone Naruto. What are you doing to my sensei? Ayumi, you know better than to interrupt the session of our court. This matter does not concern you, he said. It does when you accuse Naruto sensei of whatever this is. This man and his compatriots have attacked a member of the Guardian and caused damage to our palace. Then I'm sure he has a good reason for it, she said. Oh yes, something about conspiracy and traitors alike. We will not have you fall prey to any more of his machinations. Machinations? He was teaching me puppetry, not conspiring to overthrow the country. Ayumi, speak out of turn once more, and you shall be punished. That was like a slap in the face for her. As she recoiled. Out of turn? Something was wrong. Even the nobles were surprised. The daimyo has never spoken to his father like this before. As Naruto looked up to see Teiwaya's smirk deepen before it vanished. As everything started to go in Naruto's mind, a terrible thought crept into it. No, it can't be. Your behavior here is not welcome. At the moment, you should not be involved in this business. You're throwing me out, she asked. Guards, escort her from the chambers or we pass judgment on these criminals. Execution will be the best sort of action now for breaking our laws. No, Ayumi said, as the samurai hesitated, but he grabbed her arm. Wait, said Naruto as he stood to his feet. If this is the last time I will see Ayumi Haim, might I granted one last lesson to her? We hardly think thanks, said Naruto, as he walked towards her without paying the daimyo any regard. It's about a really important lesson in chakra restricting cuffs and chakra suppressing cuffs. You see, we use the first one in Konoha for criminals because they prevent the spiritual and physical form of creating chakra. But what we have here is something that forces chakra in your body to just cycle around to prevent you from using it anyway. Both of them good to keep someone from using a chakra. Do these ramblings serve a purpose, daimyo asked. Like I said, it's a lesson. The catch is, chakra restricting cuffs rely on a loop to restrain the chakra in the body. Through the coils, down the arm, back up the cuffs, going back down. So if that loop was to be broken for whatever reason. At this point, Teiwaya's eyes went down towards Naruto's artificial arm. She was about to call it a warning, but it was too late. Too slow. Its prosthetic detached from his shoulder, and a dozen strings lashed out towards the daimyo. As Naruto closed his eyes, and a single second, Hanro's blade was blocked, not cutting Naruto's neck right off. It was his commander who held him, Mikio. Hanro, look. As they turned towards what everyone else was gawking at, the daimyo had grown branches where Naruto's tread touched. As he turned to a white humanoid creature, as he looked half buried inside the tree, as he just froze there. Naruto then shot forward, flipping as she broke the cuffs. As she grabbed on Teiwaya and wrapped her up. Teiwaya tapping her cursed state as she tried to pry Naruto off of her, as many people gasped. But Naruto roughed her arms behind her back and restrained them with the cuffs. The moment they clicked on, the cursed seal faded away. Damn it, Teiwaya said, as Naruto slammed a fist in her temple, knocking her out cold. No one knew what to say, as he glanced between the imposter and the traitor. Sure, said Naruto, as he leaned down to pick up his prosthetic. No one help or anything, just watch, he said. Time skip. The place was now uproar, after finding out that the country leader was killed and been replaced for who knows how long. It's probably been several months since when he first started to act out of character. The same time when Madame Shizumai died, as no one knew exactly how did she die, but Naruto could have figured that she was taken out so they could switch the daimyo as well, as he, his companions, the two guardians had taken away Teiwaya. So first, I believe that we should begin with apologies for our former teammate actions towards you and our insinuation towards you. Beside him, Hanryu grunted. I'm not sorry. When Mikuru gave him a look, he frowned. What? It's not like we knew she was a traitor. Whose word were we supposed to take? Teiwaya's or some village ninja I've never met before. Nevertheless, the monk said, it should have never come to pass in the first place. Our job is to protect Daimyo, his family, and his interests. And we fail. Speaking of, said Naruto, how is Ayumi Haim? She was immediately brought away by Daimyo's attendant after her father's death was confirmed. Coping, the monk said, she's a remarkable girl, and she's taken in stride. She will be an excellent daimyo once she have time to process all of this. From across the room sitting down, Uncle snorted. I hope you guys look after her better than the last. Hanryu's hand twitched towards his sword, but his leader looked at him. That is partially deserved. The responsibility for Teiwaya rests solely in our hands, but must you deepen the wound unnecessarily? Considering that we were about to be executed for it, Hanabi muttered, more annoyed that she was unable to help. I think so, she said. Please, said Naruto, as if I would let you get executed. Hey, what about me? Uncle said. Some losses are unavoidable, he said. Yeah, because you had it so. In your hand back there, last minute save. What would you have done if they were chakra suppressing cuffs? Then it wouldn't have been me they caught at all, he said. Chakra suppression would work on Dami because the puppets didn't mold the chakra themselves. You just got a plan for everything, don't you, she said. Just about, he said, as he turned back to Mikuru. Speaking of plans, Teiwaya, she remained in our custody, of course. She needed to be questioned and punished as a rogue member of the daimyos, guardians. See, that's a problem for us, said Naruto, because we need to interrogate her about her boss location. I will be more than happy enough to make you sit in on the questioning, said Mikuru, but Naruto shook his head, as he couldn't wait that long. We might also need to examine her seal, and considering that she attacked a Jonin of Konoha, I have grounds to argue that she belongs under our custody. Not to mention we're the reason that you guys found out her board to deploy, said Uncle. As Hanryu slammed the hand on the table, she might have been a traitor, but she was a guardian. She stayed with us. That, a lot of red in your cheeks, big guy, said Uncle, as she slid her way over. Except that is not anger of a teammate, betrayal. It's deeper, she said, as she raised her hand and rubbed up his cheeks. Oh, you poor man. She led you on, didn't she? No wonder you came to her defense so quickly. He slapped her hand away, but damage was done, as Mikuru turned towards him. Is this true, Hanryu? The man grunted and looked away, but he did not deny it. See, we can't even trust you guys to be objective, can we, said Uncle. Not with the lover over there. Be that as it may, said Mikuru, but he was cut off as the door to the chamber was open. Teiwaya go with the Konoha ninjas. As Mikuru turned and dropped down to kneel, with Hanryu on the floor. Daimyo-sama, they said in unison. Ayumi-Haim, said Naruto. Thank Kami, she said. Someone treated me normally. Treating us normally. That's gonna take some use to get to, she said. You'll manage, said Naruto, as she smiled, but she looked rather exhausted. Well, a country was just dropping her lap. As she sighed, she glanced at the kneeling guardians, looking uncertain. You can rise, she said, as they immediately did so. And you may also leave us for the moment, she said. Both of them nodded as Hanryu looked at Teiwaya unconscious form, as he left as well. You guys should start to head out too, said Naruto. It's probably best if I talk to Ayumi-Haim alone. And miss out on the show, said Uncle, as Naruto stared her down. For someone nearly after her age, he could be intimidating when he wanted to be. Fine. As she hacked Teiwaya on her shoulder, as Hanabi hesitated. Don't worry, said Naruto, I'm not gonna get into any fights, or get myself arrested while you're gone, he said. As Ayumi then slumped. So, how are you, he asked. Really, he said. Time skip. As Naruto phoned Hanabi and Uncle waiting for him. So, what did you and our new daimyo discuss? And why would I tell you that? Because you love me, said Uncle. Alright, because you're incorrigible, gossip, she said. No, you're right, wrong shade of blonde. How about because I won't stop bugging you? All the way back to Konoha. It was nothing important, just making sure she was okay. Hanabi raised her eyebrow. Since when do you check if people are okay, she asked. She's an 11-year-old girl who have just been thrust into one of the most commanding positions of the country. And Kami knew that none of these jackals are going to take it easy on her. Plus, it doesn't hurt to make inroads with your latest daimyo. There it is, Uncle said. I was beginning to think I misread you, she said. I also reminded her about the daimyo appointment in Konoha, so she will probably visit in a few days. What? You suddenly got plans to become Hokage? Asked Uncle. God no. I'm gonna try and nail Jerry into the position. Know that he had the ear of daimyo, that might be possible. Besides, Jerry could bitch and moan about it all he wanted, but he was the best person for the job right now. And he would be good, yes, for all the irritation he had given him over the past couple of years. Uncle burst out laughing as she walked ahead. I think you'd make a good Hokage, said Hanabi. That's flattering, but I wouldn't be. Not at now at least. He might make a good tactician or advisor, but being Hokage was about caring, and he needed to also, well, repent for some things he did in the past. After all, someone so out for themselves, after all the crap he pulled, and the things that he did that got people killed. Yeah, he wasn't suited out to care for our entire village. But that is not important. I was gonna ask if you can do me a favor. She blinked and nodded, as Naruto felt a little bad, like he was manipulating her, seeing that she didn't really do anything while on this mission. When Ayumi comes to Konoha, I want you to try and befriend her. Wait, her? Why? As he didn't know why she was being this way. It's not like Ayumi did anything personally to hurt Hanabi, because it is always good to be the country leader, races. She still looks skeptical, so he decided to go further. And she's also a young girl who just lost her father, and is surrounded by all sides from people who want to manipulate her to their own will, and they have much more experience to do so. So she could do making friends with someone who would be frank to her. That you're on her age is a plus. She hesitated, but she nodded. I'll try, but I can't promise anything. She's a daimyo after all. It was like she could just strike up a casual conversation. That's all I ask, he said as he ruffled her hair, as she glared at him a bit. As they stopped a few miles away, in a hollowed out place, as Naruto produced a syringe, as he plunged it into Teiwaya's neck. Her eyes shot wide open as she looked around crazy. What the hell you shoot me with, you shit? Naruto kicked her right in the face. None of that now, he said. I didn't wake you up to your colorful vocabulary. So now, shall we begin? He took a step forward, but Uncle stopped him. Oh please, I insist, she said. Knock yourself out, he said, as he could always go after. She grabbed Teiwaya by her neck and pulled her into the trees further. After 10 minutes, Uncle had a big smile on her face as Teiwaya was pale and shivering, despite having been cut from her binding at some point. When Uncle threw her on the ground, she didn't try to run. She simply curled up into a ball, looking at Uncle like she was a dead god herself. Took your time, said Naruto, as Uncle rolled her eyes. Can't please everyone. What did you do to her? Asked Hanabi. A magician, never reveal your secrets. Now, tell them what you just told me. She took a moment. I don't know much about the whole plan, okay? All I know is that the setup we had going here, while Orochimaru has done that in all of the 5 great nations, I was never told why, just to make sure that no one deal with the Fate Daimyo and interfere. I couldn't tell you more if I wanted to, and she spasmed in pain as the curse mark started to glow orange. As those markings started to come out of the seal, Naruto stepped forward and started to write symbols in the air with chakra. As he created a containment seal and slammed it over the curse mark, as he twisted his hand as the markings retreated back, it just looked like a normal tattoo once again. Teiwaya panted on the ground as she blinked in shock. I can't feel him anymore. What did you... This time was Uncle that kicked her across the face and knocking her out once again. Damn, that was exactly satisfying as I thought it was going to be. We still had more questions to ask, Hanabi said, as she was quite interested in this. She didn't know why. And we will, back in Konoha. But we have enough for now, said Naruto. I don't know. I kind of regret not asking her where Orochimaru is, said Uncle. The curse mark would have probably killed her before she could. And the moment Orochimaru realized one of his lieutenants is gone, he will move anyway. But know that I have an active form of track and seal. I should be able to modify yours so we can find him without any inconceivable spotting, said Naruto. Can you explain that in better English, she asked. I should be able, he said in a rather slow tone, to track the bits of Orochimaru and ignore the other people with the curse mark, defective or otherwise. Which by that, it should leave Orochimaru himself so we can go and find him. Oh, why didn't you say so? So you're saying that we can go after him right now? Could, but won't. We're going back to the village. To drop this one off and recharge, he said, as he was not going to face Orochimaru at anything but his best. Its range of the Byakugan was too limited for any long-range fight as well. So, Hanabi said, we're just gonna breeze past the fact that Orochimaru has replaced all the daimyo's thing. Naruto just patted her shoulder as Uncle picked up Teiwaya again. There's only so much we can do in one day. But make no mistakes, we will do something about it, and it will have to be soon. The moment he realized that something was wrong, he would put his plan into action. Time skip, as Naruto was sitting in his chair, as he had this little wooden doll that he made Hanabi practice with. He wasn't sure why he kept the thing. It was like he was sentimental or anything like that. But it was his first puppet that he created, this wooden doll. As Ineri was sitting across from him, her tails wrapped around her. As he looked at the doll and then looked at Ineri, as he saw how far he has come. He still remembered every time he came home, only to feel like his work wasn't good enough because of the bingo book entry on the wall of saucer and all the things that he completed. But now, he was far from saying that he was a master at his craft. Every day revealed something that he could tweak, something new. But he was finally at a point in his life where he could appreciate all that he had accomplished. Sometimes, a lot of it had come at a cost though. He never truly think that he will understand people. And he was robbed from friendships, yes. That would have changed that. But still though, he needed to move forward. He couldn't linger too long in that mindset. Yes, that is what he would do, move forward. Nothing was sacred, nothing was perfect. But everything was possible. As he glanced towards the clock, it was still not time. As he glanced towards the window, as he could see, the Hokage's monument, it was unchained, but he heard that Jiraiya's face was already getting sculpted. Ayume had come through and named the man Hokage. There was someone else though, Danzo Shimura, who was in the running as well, but Naruto was glad that he nipped that in the butt. That old war hawk didn't deserve the hat, as everything that Hiruzen had lived and died for would be pointless. As Naruto glanced towards the clock again, as it was time, he was ready. Konoha seemed quieter than usual. It was like the entire village was holding his breath as he made his way, as he dropped down the opposite end of the wall. The village at Hokage again, things weren't in mess like before. He wouldn't call his action tonight treasonous, because they weren't doing bad things. After all, if their mission was completed, people would be happy that they finally got rid of that snake. But if they fail, well, they will be dead. So who really cared? The thing that he was dreading was from his apprentice, when she found out that he went out without her and do this. But there wasn't a chance in hell that he would bring her with him and put her in this danger, especially since he wasn't certain of his own success. Damn, Uncle needs to show up soon. The more he stayed here and think, the more his thoughts became twisted. We can do this, he said. You know, talking to yourself, it's supposed to be the first sign of madness, said Uncle. As she sank out of the shadows. I assume that you're ready, she said. As I'm going to be, you. Oh, I've been ready for this for 2 decades now. Got myself strapped up with the explosive tag and everything. He couldn't tell if she was joking or not, and he took a step away from her just to be safe. Well, at least he was becoming, well, acceptable by her antics. As Naruto felt someone else approach. When I caught you sneaking off, said Sasuke, I thought it might be for something more important than a midnight drifts. As he looked at Uncle and Naruto. Oh, pretty boy, Uncle said. We weren't expecting company, but I would be in the mood for a little mocha and tupa, she said. As Naruto blocked out that image out of his head, as he turned towards Sasuke. What are you doing here, Sasuke? I think I'll skip the whole "isn't that what I should be asking you" thing. But it's pretty obvious what you two are up to. And I want in. You want in, Naruto said. As he did not doubt that Sasuke could work out what they were going up against. It was like he and Uncle had many overlapping things with interest together. Why? Naruto asked. Well, I could tell you something about former teammates sticking together. And that's part of it, but we know that you don't really care. Hell, I don't have to give you an answer. I could just sprint back to Hokage's office and stop this with the plan. And I don't want to because I said, I want a crack at Orochimaru myself. What did Snakeface do to you? Asked Uncle. As she gave him one over. Naruto knew that there was a reason, but Sasuke should know about it. I heard he had Sharingan eyes. I want to know how, where he got them, and if there's any more. Those belong to the Uchihas, and I won't have him run his sick experiments on them. Sasuke, right? Grave robbing is one of my sensei least formidable crimes. Good then. Then you should have a lot of reason why I should put a kunai between his eyes, said Sasuke. Uncle glanced towards Naruto as Naruto shrugged. He didn't really care if Sasuke came. Hell, Sasuke was a strong shinobi and help would be appreciated. The only reason they weren't bringing more people was because Jiraiya could axe their plan before it even happened, as their thoughts hasn't changed about that. Jiraiya hesitated the last time, and they couldn't afford to get him involved. Fine, looks like you're up, but said Uncle. As Sasuke's eyes swirled into his Sharingan. Don't call me that. As he turned his head, if we want to get out, we need to move, now. As the group made their way towards the land of tea. As they arrived, Uncle Pain became unbearable, as they knew that they were close enough. As the sun started to peek over the horizon, as it cast the sky into pink color, as they enter the clearing, a clearing that seemed to be prepared for them. Come now, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru greeted as he was standing right there in the center of the open peak. Did you really think, after all the effort you put in to trap me down, that I wouldn't keep tracks of my little gifts as well? I didn't think anyone would go into depth about it this way. So, I figure I'll just deal with the problem at the root, Orochimaru said. Jiraiya may prove to be a thorn in my side after a while, but you know I don't have to worry about that, he said a smirk. Always saying that you're nothing like sorcery, and yet you keep the secret as he did. After all, I bet you don't even tell Jiraiya anything about this is the excursion that you have right here, or that you modified Uncle Seal, and he would never find out once I've dealt with you all. Sometimes you make this too easy, Naruto-kun. Nothing about this is going to be easy, said Uncle, in rage. Ah, Uncle-chan, impatient ever. I used to see that as a potential to learn, but I now just realize that you're just impatient as a child. Sometimes I only find myself to blame to see something inside you that didn't even exist. As his eyes didn't flicker into the Sharingan. And speaking of seeing, Sasuke launched himself forward, wasting no time, but then he stopped. Sasuke collapsed on the ground as he started to puke. What the hell? As everyone watches a crow came from Sasuke's throat. The bird had a Sharingan. This was not the normal Sharingan, it was a Mangekyou. Orochimaru seemed to recognize it, but he was too slow to go away in time. He froze. As his hand came up in the ram seal, Orochimaru tried to resist it, but he could not, as he shook in agony. As the bird was just there, looking at him. As he finished the hand signs, Jutsu. Release, he said. As the compulsion were lifted, but he was too late to do anything about it. Sasuke and Anko fell to their knees, as the both of them cried out in pain. They couldn't even scream as something was erupting from their necks, as the mark was ripping itself off their neck. As Naruto watched his cursed seal explode off their neck, not knowing to hurt them in any way, just exploding out into a mist, a black mist that blew in the air. All that remained on their neck was a red patch. The seal was gone. As the both of them collapsed into unconsciousness, as the crow landed right beside Sasuke, then it just burst into black flames and burned into nothingness, leaving the ashes right behind. Orochimaru chuckled towards the ash. I almost didn't believe when I heard that Itachi got his best at his brother's hands. No one else could afford me like that, even beyond the grave. Even in death, Itachi. To use Shisui, Mangekyou ability against me like that. To free the brother that he supposedly hated. It seems like Itachi was far more complex than I give him credit for. As he cracked his neck, as you could see sweat on his brow. It seems like the experience wasn't good for him either. No matter, curse marks can be remade. As Naruto stood there, as he didn't really understand what the hell just happened. Now, that only leaves you. Orochimaru's legs fused into a snake tail as he slipped across the clearing in a blink of an eye. But Orochimaru, kunai was slapped away by nearest tail. She burst right from her shadow, it seems, as cold Byakugan stared right into Sharingans, and neither of them belonged to their respective clan. You know, my first combat puppet look an awfully lot like you do now, said Naruto. If I hadn't improved since then, this would have been quite awkward. Orochimaru simply smirked. What a fascinating coincidence. Perhaps when I have you strapped to a table to remove the Kyuubi, you can tell me more about your stories. I will always want a Biju to play around with. Your Uzumaki blood only sweetened the deal. He tried to press forward, but, to both of their surprise, Inyari was physically stronger than the Sannin, as the tails whipped out and threw him back. As if there was some mirror between them, both of them speed to hand side at the same moment. Wind style, they topper, as they blew at the same gust of wind, as both techniques cancelled each other. I am a scientific man by nature, Orochimaru said, so I believe the novelty of these eyes will wear off after a time. In truth, their capabilities, only amazement ever turned. Funny, said Naruto. Inyari's tail whipped around and sliced through Orochimaru's body, the water cannon, but he burst into mud. If only I had discovered you sooner, Orochimaru said. You might have been a worthy apprentice. As Naruto looked towards him, it actually saddened me when I was forced to flee the Akatsuki, because I got along with Sasori quite well. So, I would just eliminate you here, and not cause myself a future headache. Is that your plan to die, Naruto says Inyari shot forward, as Inyari started to clash taijutsu with the man, eliminating people that aren't nuisance to you, through unofficial channels, as Orochimaru's flexibility was a perfect match for Inyari, extra limbs. You're fumbling around in the dark, Naruto, looking for schemes that doesn't really exist. I am a very simple person, once you come to understand my motives, because the fact is I simply want everything, every jutsu and every technique. I want to understand it all, and become a perfect entity. And the daimyo, said Naruto. Orochimaru whipped around his arms, turned his snakes, and lashed towards Inyari, as he jumped and sliced a few back. I wish for them to declare war on one another, throwing the entire world into a world war. Then, when they are in the midst of a conflict, I will have the Kages of the major village be assassinated by one of their dear personal attendant. Just as I did my former sensei. Why, said Naruto, as Chakra scalpels came on Orochimaru's hand and you forced in your back. Come now, Naruto-kun. Do I even need to justify myself to you? After all, we are like mine. I love your work along the border. Truly wonderful work. If it hadn't disrupted some of my own plans, I would have been impressed. Naruto's eyes hardened as wind chakra came on in your hands and clashed with Orochimaru as well. Oh, don't be that way, Orochimaru said. I won't tell. But yet you call me out for starting a war. A little hypocritical of you. After all, you did the same thing. As in your attack only increased. How many people die? How many do you think? For your ambition, for a cause they thought they understood. But it was nothing but a game played by you. Did you enjoy it, what you did? I hope that is the you I'm fighting, because if it's a regretful one, that want to find a way to fix his mistakes, he's gonna die very soon. Really, I had far more respect for you when you were honest with yourself and do what you please instead of acting all good. But that ship sailed a long time ago when you condemned thousands to their deaths. Take all the missions you like. Save your clients. Help your people with businesses. Try and extend aid to those in need. But we both know that you can never truly fix what you have caused. As if you're so much better, said Naruto, every inch of focus on Orochimaru. Oh, but I'm not. I'm a sick, twisted individual that wants to create worldwide chaos. Simply so these eyes of mine can record all sorts of jutsus. You're a monster, said Naruto. And it must infuriate you to see yourself in me, does it? You can play good all you like, Naruto-kun, but in the end, we both know what is under your mask, a hollow thing that doesn't even understand what good or bad is. You see good around you, even follow the footsteps of others, like my sensei and your father. But do you truly understand? I really wonder. I think you're so broken, so stunted, that the only way you can convince yourself that you're good is to lock your true self somewhere deep inside of you. As his eyes seem to spin faster. What will do it, I wonder? What will crack that vault? Your apprentice? I was never truly interested in sorcery techniques, but I believe I picked up enough so I can work a bit of magic on that girl. Turn her into one of these things you use. In here, it became outright ferocious, her attacks becoming wild and deadly. If one of her attacks got even close and touched him, he would be ripped into half. But Orochimaru Sharingan saw through the attacks with ease. But we have much more people to try first. I wonder, has my old apprentice wormed her way under your skin yet? She has a unique property, give enough time, for her personality to become rather interesting. He used that moment when her anger was at its peak. As Inari stepped forward, his leg was like a whip as he struck Inari in her chest. She twisted her body in mid-air as he jumped towards Uncle. But as he did, he saw Naruto's face switch from furious to a smirk. Meanwhile, Naruto clones grumble in irritation as they move away from the fight with Uncle and Sasuke. Other clones work on puppets and all that, but they just got carried away, the psychopath and also the former teammate. One of them turned as he heard something, as he looked at the large smoke that was rising in the air. It was quite a sight as he whistled. Damn, those tweaks to the formula on the explosive tags are really paying off, one of them said. Back to the fight. As Naruto had covered his eyes as his decoys of Uncle and Sasuke had exploded. The explosion was one thing, but he could see through the Byakugan of Inar's eyes as he saw Orochimaru's skin rippled back. He would have to tweak it a bit though. Through the speed Orochimaru was going in, the fire across his body was put out. This might be youthful arrogance talking, but I genuinely believe that would never grow old, he said, as he walked forward as his feet was crunching. And you're right, I'm not a good person, or even a nice person. I try to do good because I don't want to end up like Sasuke or Pain, or you. I do it because all of you had shown me a glimpse of my future, and shown me how deadly of a monster I could be. And you know what, the world doesn't need any more monsters. And sometime, Naruto says, he heard a poof as he looked up at the giant snake. It created a monster to kill another monster. As he pulled a scroll from his pouch, as he unfurled his giant snake looking at him, his golden eyes watching him deadly. But he simply smirked. But guys, be in right here. If you want to be part of this or know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on bell notifications to get posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.